Is it a wink or is it a tick?
I guess it depends on the context.
But what if they're from across the room? How do you determine what it is?
You wink back.
Is it followed by a uncomfortable smile or uncomfortable laughter?
Then it's intentional. If it's a tick, they're switching eyes. Have you ever used the wink as a move?
No. I'm too scared. It's very, I don't want to say aggressive, but it is forward.
That's not your
No.
way, is to be forward?
No. And I don't know if I would like that from the other person.
To be winked at?
For them to be winking at me.
What about a...
No.
Or a...
No.
What do you want, a head nod?
A smile is fine.
Teeth or no teeth?
Yeah, no teeth.
So what is like...
No raising of the eyebrows. That looks like you're planning something.
To raise eyebrows?
Yeah.
So what? It's just like...
Yeah, just like a pleasant smile.
Isn't that just being polite?
Yeah. But then I think that if I smile back, then if that person is interested, then they'll see it as a welcoming.
But what if they don't think that and they think it's just a form of being polite and they don't want to overstep their boundaries?
I think they know. I think also the setting, depending on the setting. If the smile is something that when you do it, then you're like, oh, that person is interested. They smile back. Let me approach them.
What if it's in like the grocery store?
Well, that's something where if the person is interested, they will follow up and like they'll actually say something.
What is an appropriate thing to say in this situation?
At the grocery store?
Yeah, or just like in a public setting.
Well, if you're at the grocery store, maybe I'm like looking at the produce. They could probably ask something about the produce, or do you shop here often at the place?
Couldn't that come off as creepy though?
I guess if the person does look creepy. If they do look creepy, yeah.
So what determines what creepy looks like?
Sweaty, oily hair, fast breathing.
So what kind of things should you not say?
Compliment the way I look.
That'll be creepy?
Yeah, not in a grocery store.
So it'd be like, oh, the oranges are looking very orange today.
You can ask, oh, do you know if oranges are in season?
Do you feel like those are like stupid questions that... No?
No. I think maybe if somebody was like, if they're your age, it's different.
Then what? Then it's like, what?
Probably they'll find it. I mean, what do you think? If somebody starts all of a sudden asking you about the produce.
Me specifically?
Yeah.
I would probably find it interesting and talk about it.
Yeah.
That's because I'm into that kind of stuff. But I feel like other people be like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's like...
But if you're trying to use it as an in to talk to somebody, you don't want them to be like, oh, I don't know. So you have to say something that kind of like, do you come here often? That's a better one, but also not really, because, you know, it's kind of like overused line.
Yeah. Well, what do they say nowadays? I'm thinking like a Trader Joe's. So you see somebody, all of a sudden there's somebody right next to you that's buying the same kind of fruit. So how would you, and you're like, oh, the person is attractive. How would you try to start a conversation that doesn't seem creepy?
I think a lot of people struggle with that. And it can be difficult to try not to sound corny, because anything you say is like pretty cheesy.
Yeah.
But other than that, it would sound like creepy or like ambiguous. It's like unclear what you're asking. Like you can't just be like, oh, do you like these? What's something you would say?
I don't know. I would make something up like, oh, I was here the last time and they were all out of these. I'm glad that they restocked.
Because I feel like it has to be a question, because then if you're just making a statement, they're going to be like, what? People never hear you because they always have headphones on.
Well, I'm sure you're going to have to make sure that the person is able to hear.
Then once you make a statement, they're going to be like, oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. So if they're not interested, then...
Maybe that's true. But I feel like you have to say something that will give them something to say. Like an open-ended question almost. I guess when it comes to produce, you could say something like, oh, I found Trader Joe's produce is pretty good compared to somewhere like Whole Foods. And then I guess you could try to get them to talk by like, what do you think? Or you could say something like, how do you feel about Trader Joe's stuff versus Whole Foods? Or you could just say Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. All right, so then you're talking. And then it's like, how do you establish something? Like, oh, we should hang out sometime. Or is that like, oh, what?
Well, so it would have to be me?
What would make you comfortable to hear?
I guess people usually say, I guess if somebody is interested, they'll, after talking for a little while, if they're interested, they'll ask, well, do you want to grab a cup of coffee sometime?
What if they ask you to do something right then and there? What are you doing? Want to go grab a cup of coffee?
If I'm available, I would go, yeah.
Have you ever done something like that?
Mm-mm.
I feel like people don't really do that anymore.
I know. But I think it's because people are not asked.
And I think people don't ask because they're afraid of like retribution and like
Right.
public shame. They'd be like, hey, everybody, this guy just said this. And everybody pulls out their phones and starts recording them. That's like everyone's biggest fear.
Yeah.
But that probably doesn't even happen. And more people would be surprised to know that people actually are interested in stuff like that. And it's not just romantic interests, like friends too, you could make like that.
Right.
Especially if they're doing something that's like similar to you.
Well, I guess that's why it feels more comfortable. Like if you're at a bookstore, like you're both there because you like books, you like reading. So I guess it's, I guess, yeah, like I said, it depends on where you are.
Yeah, it would be like very easy to be like, oh, have you read this book?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you like that author, you would like these books.
And I guess that's why they say you go to places that you like, so that if there's somebody there, you're already comfortable.
True say, true say.